We're going to begin with an important issue parents will have to face. Health Canada has approved the Pfizer vaccine for adolescents 12 and up, and a writer for Romper predicts that the decision of whether you vaccinate your child is going to end friendships for a lot of people. So here's the question. How would you react if a friend chose not to vaccinate their child?
You know what? I'm going to go to Lisa Marie on Facebook because I share the same sentiment with Lisa Marie. And she writes, their choice, but they won't be welcomed into my house unless they are. Being able to see my mom is more important than my son having his friend over. And even though that seems like a really extreme position, I actually share that with Lisa Marie. We have all been sacrificing, and many more people, some than others. And this is coming down to, I think, your civic duty if you choose to participate back in life once this thing finally comes to an end. And I think that we've been masking not only for ourselves, but mostly for one another. We've been social distancing, not just for ourselves, but for one another. We've been staying away from our loved ones, not for ourselves, but for one another. This pandemic has shown us that if you truly are a citizen and you want to participate in the society, there is a collective move we all have to do, and that is not about you at the center of it. It is, in fact, about other people. So going back to Lisa Marie's sentiment here, I'm shocked some days at what I hear at the playground when the kids are out there playing, because there are so many parents telling me who are not anti-vaxxers saying, I don't know about this vaccine for, the 12-year-olds. Did you hear? And I'm thinking, so you like your kids at home forever? Like, let's get real about what's on the line here, people. This is, I trust the science, and they're not going to make you say, hey, give it to your kids if it's not safe. So let's do this for each other.
Yeah, so this is actually something that the decision is going to be coming down here in Alberta this upcoming week. It was just approved, just eligible as of Monday. Every single person over the age of 12 is eligible for a vaccine. So this is actually something that parents have to decide right now. And obviously, you already know what side you're on. This isn't something that's going to be a last minute decision or anything like that. But it is interesting here in Alberta. It's, we've got the most cases in the world per capita. I think there's been a lot of people that are going against the restrictions. I don't know if you guys heard about the massive rodeo that was just held here on the weekend, just outside of Calgary. Like, thousands of people went. So there's these people working against the people that are working towards this being over. Yeah. And I think a lot of parents are going to, take that as a responsibility, and we're going to go get our kids vaccinated.
Here's my question for the parents, though. I get it. Like, if it's a friend of your child, then, or your friend, then because you're having that conversation. But, like, how do you know in schools, for example, when it's time, to send kids back to school, how do you know which kids have been vaccinated and which not, and who your kids are playing with and who they end up inviting over and, I don't know, sleepovers and all of that? Like, because schools don't have to disclose which kids have been vaccinated and aren't, right? So isn't that, like, the next step of confusion for kids?
Yeah. No, I know not COVID vaccine, but regular vaccines. Right. It's only Ontario and New Brunswick that have it mandated that your kids, if you want them to attend school in person, have to have received vaccinations. You can opt out for a medical reason or for an ideological reason, but by and large, your kid can't go to school in those two provinces. The question will be is, what will the provinces mandate? Because, of course, they are the ones who oversee education. And British Columbia, right now, Dr. Bonnie Henry has actually said they're looking at introducing immunizations for those 12-year-olds, maybe younger if it's approved soon, in schools. So you see, that's going to really now start to divide people. And I say BC for a reason, because they had a measles outbreak a couple years ago, and they really pointed to the parents who were choosing to not vaccinate their kids as little ones as part of the reason why those numbers went through the roof. And so this is going to be a very tricky dance now for the ministers of education across the country to decide what is the rule going to be if this September means if you want your kid in person, they're going to need a vaccine. It's a big question to ask as a parent. I would like to know that all the kids in my daughter's class, because hopefully she goes back to school this September, are only there because they got the vaccine.
The original question being, how would you react if a friend didn't want to vaccinate their kid? I reacted, and this is a decade ago, I reacted by actually just trying to share some information. It was a friend of a friend, and she posted on Facebook that she didn't want to vaccinate her kid in time for the school year for ideological reasons, as you said, Mel, because she didn't like the list of ingredients in some of these vaccines. And, good-natured, I tried to sort of push this article. I was working at Maclean's at the time, and one of our journalists there had wrote this incredible piece, because this was right at the time in around 2010 where the Lancet retracted the vaccine and autism sort of paper that had gone through. And so there was this big piece about the rise of parents whose fear of getting their kids vaccinated had superseded the parents' fear of their kids actually getting a disease, something like polio, for example. And so I shared this article with her saying, look at all the scientists and the medical doctors that have been interviewed. And her response a decade ago was, you're going to believe journalists and doctors? And that was like a real wake-up call, like that was, now that's kind of just commonplace. So what I always want to know is, I'm not friends with this person anymore, and I'd love to know, yeah, you didn't see polio in the streets, but you are seeing people die of COVID right now. Does that change? Can parents change their minds? And
that's what I'm finding really interesting with COVID is this is something that we're witnessing happen in real time. And I know parents that have had their kids vaccinated in the past, no questions asked. Has anybody ever asked what ingredients are in a vaccine before this? Very rarely, right? We go and we get our kids vaccinated and they go to school and that's how it goes. But suddenly people that have gotten their kids vaccinated in the past are worrying about this one. I know it was fast, it was developed quickly, but it was developed as like a global effort showing what science can do and everybody kind of works together. So I am shocked that some people that have just no questions asked in the past got their kids vaccinated, and now, when again, we just want to get back to normal life, and this is kind of seems like the key into that, why they're questioning it now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, we always say for parents, informed consent, do the research, but also hopefully believe science.
Well, where are they doing the research? Don't do it on Facebook.
Don't do it on Facebook. Good point. Good point.